All right, now we're underneath the 480 system right now. And one thing we'll point out before we get off of the, open the doors to the main controller here, is this is also the location of the serial number, which you'll see down here. So if you have to report the machine in, that's the serial number right there. And now there are 3 screws here. You loosen them, and I mentioned before that this gives you access to all the major components right here. And you can see, now I'll flip the board even a little bit farther. You can see the main CPU board. There's some LEDs that you can see that are running that show you that the CPUs on different portions are working. These are all the different arrays, and these are the main CPU on the board here. Now, I'm going to continue on. This is the status board connector. You'll see here. This is the board that the cable that attaches the hub board to the main CPU. And here you'll see the load cells, 1, 2, 3, 4. The order of the load cells doesn't matter, except that, you know, once they're calibrated, you want to keep them in the same order. And then what you'll notice here is these are the dimensional arrays that this is running to. And we'll show you how to get access if you find that you have to go in and repair or replace them. But this is the main hub right here. The hub is held on by 4 screws, you can see right here. And at the point, if you had to you would turn the machine off, obviously, if you were replacing this. And then you could disconnect the load cells, the height, the width. And you'll see that on the board they're also labeled, and you'll see that you've got labels here, just to show you how these things connect. Now, something that you might find is that if you are doing some troubleshooting and you notice that you are having trouble on a height array. For instance, we had one where an array was completely 0. In other words, where it was supposed to say 5, 6, and 8, it was doing 5, 0, and 8. And that being the case, you know that there's a problem. Now, is it a problem with the cable run, or could it be the hub? One way of doing it is to actually switch the connectors from here to here. And you'll get an error as far as you can't do dimensioning. But if you look at the display, what will happen is you will see a difference in the numbering scheme. I'm going to show you something that I was referencing before that's a good technique to use when you're troubleshooting. I'm actually going to be reversing it. There's nothing wrong with the machine right now, but it will give you an idea of what you can do. If these numbers are mixed up or something is missing and you're trying to isolate exactly where you might be having a trouble, could it be in the hub board itself or could it be out in the array? What you'll notice is that I have my required and I have my connected. And you'll see the width is 5 and the height is 6. Now, I can't do any actual measurements when I'm doing this, but what I can do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to switch the height and the width around here. Now, you got to remember that you've done this. If you can start getting crazy measurements, always check to make sure you've got these things properly plugged in. Now, I'm going to come back here. What you'll see is these things are counting up now. You see the numbers are counting in. There we go. You see the width. Now, what you see is the 6 and the 5 have been reversed. And where this can be very handy is that if you had a problem with a width or you know, on the numbering scheme in here, you can actually verify, just make 100% sure, or especially if it's 0, that you're not having a problem with your hub. Because if the problem is with the array section, for instance, if for some reason I was only showing 3 on the width, when I came over to the height, it would also show 3. So you can use these numbers as a convenient way to check to see if things are located okay. Now, the problem that you will have is if you don't switch these things back into their proper location, is you'll get some kind of screwy measurements, because of course the width and the height will be mixed up. And in the case of the length, it won't matter that much, but it is a convenient way of doing it. Now, you'll see there's 2 lengths. That's because there's 4 in this direction and 4 in this direction. And in the case that I'm sitting here looking at 8 right now, it is possible that say you got one down and you notice that the length is not reading correctly. And in this case, you've got 4. What you can do, just to verify, or if 3 or something like this, which one it is switch it on or disconnect it. So in the case of, if I'm only showing, say, 7 and I'm supposed to have 8, disconnect one of these and you should see all 4. If you see 4, they're working. If you see 3, then you know that the one you're hanging on to is the one that you're actually having a problem with. On the hub cable here, which connects the CPU board and the hub, I'm not going to take it off, but it's important to note which direction that this thing is going. In other words, the cables are always going off the board. So in the case here, you plug this in. It doesn't matter which side they go on, but they're going off the board. So this one points off. On the board here, you can see the board comes off here. And that's the only important thing. This is just an RFI protector to suppress RFI coming from the unit itself. And that's about it.